Da 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 da.
My God, he's got the voice of an angel.
It's breathtaking. Alright, The Hangover 3.
So it's been a while since you've seen the second one, is that true? So it's really not, it's much more connected to part one. You get characters from part one rather than characters from part two. I mean, there's a few here and there, but they're just in the very beginning. I mean, but let's get down to like brass tacks as to what this movie's about, you know? It's just like...
It's like all the other ones.
It's just like all the other ones?
It's
definitely the most unique.
It's unique. I mean, it's unique.
Of the sequels of 2 and 3.
It's unique in the sense that, like, of how it starts is interesting, and, like, what they're doing isn't joyous occasion like the other two ones. Like, it's not like the other ones where they're carefree and whatever. Like, they seem to be pretty much plagued by,
There's not even a fucking hangover in this one.
No, there isn't. There's no flashback, really, at all. They're not trying to recollect, like, events that happened. They're just, like, it proceeds with a plot.
Yeah. There's actually very little drinking. They do very little drinking.
They actually don't drink very much at all. I don't even really remember seeing.
They have a beer.
Yeah, I think
with Chow, and then the plot progresses. Like it's like they literally don't have time to get drunk. There is no hangover. It's weird. It's like a spiritual sequel. You know, it's not even like it doesn't fit with the same theme as the other two.
Well,
even though it's the same characters.
It's pretty much all the shit from their past coming back up to haunt them. So in a way, it's a hangover, but it's like a couple day later hangover. It's like all the shit they did when they were fucked up, like comes back up, and like it all comes back up to haunt them, and you really realize that they didn't. There's no way for them to get away with all that they got away with.
That's true. That's a good way to put it. I mean, because it is the final installment.
Yeah, Ken Jeong. His name's actually Dr. Ken Jeong. I was reading about him. I don't remember
he's a doctor.
He's a doctor. It's really funny, but his character is great. But I mean,
I really like Zach Galifianakis in this movie. I thought he's definitely the core fun, like more than Ken Jeong in my opinion. He just had some really funny one-liners, and that's what reminds me. Really, especially Ed Helms, except for at the end. He doesn't really serve much of a purpose. He's just like with the wolf pack, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't like do much as a character. He's just there bitching and moaning while Bradley Cooper is like planning everything out. I mean, it's funny because this joke is in the trailer where Zach Galifianakis says, yeah, I know exactly what's going on. Phil's doing all the work and I'm his assistant and you're doing nothing, which is pretty accurate to what actually happens in the movie. Like, Ed Helms as Stu does not do really anything except for at the end when he does the limo drive, but... Yeah.
Honestly, like, it's, in my eyes, a pretty played out series. It's played out after the first one. The first one, I don't even remember if it was good or not, because it came out such a long fucking time ago that it's like... But, you know, it's funny. It was... It was good. It was funny. You know, it had laughs. You were laughing. It was like it was a cheap laugh thing, you know? It was like, you know, it had a funny story, it was an interesting concept, and it had some laughs. This one also had some laughs, but it was like, that was it, you know, some laughs. It's got John Goodman in it, who I love, and he's an amazing actor, and he's good in this for the total of, like, you know, 20 minutes he's on screen. But, you know, he's good. He's John Goodman. He's always going to be, like, fun to watch, him be, like, aggravated and
he's great to watch.
And making statements and stuff.
This one is much more of a real sequel than the second one is to the first one, but even so, it's just so similar, and that is really my main complaint, is that they don't change it up enough.
Yeah. The other thing is that it's an exhausted concept by this point. Like, it was exhausted by the second one. When people were critiquing the second one and saying that the second one was too fucking, like, spaced out and weird and stuff, I don't even know what the critiques were about it, but it's like, that's where they should have stopped, but they decided, for lack of a better metaphor, like, imagine you have a toothpaste thing and it's only half full when you started it, but you're there right now at the end of this, just trying to squeeze the last little bits of humor and whatever they can out of it, and it's really like, you know, it's funny, you know, in some aspects. There's parts of it that are funny ish. I honestly, upon reflecting on it a couple days later, I was wondering.
That's the thing, is that, like, what's funny is so objective. It's hard to review comedies because, like, if the jokes aren't for you, then they're not for you, but they could be for other people, you know? it doesn't really make the movie bad just because the jokes fell flat for us.
I
Sometimes a movie is just blatantly not funny, okay? But, like, I could see people finding this hilarious.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's not like offensively bad. I enjoyed it in a sense. Like, I was, like, smiling, a lot of the time, especially when I saw Zach Galifianakis on screen. He was funny. I mean, the fact that he's off his meds, it's hilarious. I just think that he's off his meds, so how he's going to be even more fucked up. And it's like, way more dark, The jokes are more dark. But, in that aspect, I was laughing. I never had any huge laugh out loud moments whatsoever in this movie.
Not one.
Yeah.
Not one. I chuckled a lot.
Yeah.
Forrest chuckled a lot. Like, chuckled, looked around, and, like...
Who's laughing? Well, there's people laughing around me, so, ha 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 ha.
But no, it wasn't a good movie. I'm going to be upfront. Like, it wasn't a good movie. It's one of those movies that is very character-based in the sense that even though it's not super funny and even though it's not super well written, the characters that are on screen you enjoy looking at and listening to. And that kind of seems the only reason why you're there is you're just like, oh... Like, I like looking at these characters.
Well, you like watching their reactions to things.
It's like, they're funny actors.
Yeah.
The writing's bad, and it's like the plot isn't great, and everything's bad, but you like those actors. Any situation, they're going to act well, and so, that makes it worth it if you're, like, a big Zach Galifianakis fan. He does a good job, and those other guys are cool. Ed Helms is funny as fuck, like, he's always, he's funny as fuck like how he was in the first one, just his demeanor, but what they're doing isn't really that interesting.
Yeah.
Is really not. So I'd probably... It's not that I want to get kicked in the balls, but I'm just giving that objectively from a movie standpoint. As a person who watches movies and, like, acknowledges movies that are good and bad, I have to give it a forget about it just because I'm kind of just like, it's flat. It's a flat movie.
It's a flat taste.
Flat
this movie. Just tastes bad.
It sucks. It's a 4. It's a 3.5.
It's better than the second one, and I applaud the writers for managing to somehow change it up. And, yeah, the way it, what Drake mentioned, the way it ties into the first film is pretty cool. It's pretty smart in that regard, but it's still extremely similar. The jokes are... It's like it's really like you're watching these writers being like, it's like they come up with so many one-liners that, like, half of them fall flat. It's kind of like fishing by throwing a dynamite stick into the water. It's like you just, like, throw as many of them out there and you hope to get a few catches like that people like. I'm going to give it a 5.5, which is a bare minimum rental. I mean, I think that a Friday night you're bored or something, you feel like watching a comedy. It's not at all like a bad comedy to watch. There most certainly are better ones out there.
You're hypothetically on an airplane and the headphones are like $1. Like, it's not a bad use of your time.
Yeah, you're stuck on an airplane. You're bored as fuck.
If you were trapped under a rock with an iPhone, you could maybe watch it if you wanted to, but... For me, the theater didn't make it any better. In fact, the theater kind of made it underwhelming in a sense because I was like, I paid all this money and I'm eating popcorn and I'm just like bored by this fucking movie. Like, I'm bored. Like, it's not funny and I'm sitting here and like...
John my pain away with popcorn.
Yeah. So, it was one of those movies where you're like, should I take a bathroom? I could take as many... You can take as many bathroom breaks as you want during this movie. So it doesn't make it...
It's true, though. I was ready to go. I was like, I don't want to go to the bathroom because I want to see what's going to happen. I'm like...
Nothing.
Well, as long as I know I'm not on a major, like, plot point scene, like, in other words, whenever John Goodman isn't there,
yeah,
then I can fucking go to the bathroom because I'm not going to be missing that much,
Yeah.